So I had a brew. And first I haven't done a brew time for ages, but actually I've not done a brew time since like about a month ago. The 20th of what I've got in my Evernote list. So I haven't actually done a brew time for absolutely ages, and it's a bit messy behind me. But hey ho, sorry, I couldn't really be bothered to tidy up. I really wanted to get a brew time done so I can upload it before Friday, because I've got an interview then, and I kind of want to upload it over the night. And hopefully it'll all go up before I go for my interview Friday over at Penryn. So that's pretty much that. So there's loads of things I wanted to cover. This might go on for an hour, might go on for half an hour. I'm hoping it goes on for a lot less, because I've not got that much in terms of bandwidth, and I kind of want to save that kind of stuff for when I've got like a proper job, so I've got enough so I can use bandwidth properly and shit, because I've only got like a 0.3 up, I think. So let's. I wanted to talk about this. It might be a ranty like beer time thing, but I wanted to cover this now because I was just unspeakably angry and annoyed and pissed off with the members of the general public, and this is something I want to talk about. And I don't like. I know people are going to disagree with me on this, and frankly, I don't care, because this is my opinion, and you're quite within your rights to disagree with me. That's what happens in an open democratic society. You can do that. You can comment on things. You can disagree with what I say, and I kind of want you to do that, because actually, you know, that allows discussion and free and openness, which is kind of what this is kind of related, maybe not. So we all know that Charlie Hebdo, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not quite sure. I need a French person to pronounce that for me. We know what happened at Charlie Hebdo, and we know what happened in Paris, and we know that terrorists are nasty, horrible people, and they killed 12 people. And that's all very sad and boohoo and whatever. Now, the reason I say that in a really blasé way and in like a really patronising way is because I was really pissed off with the way that the media and the general public were going on about, oh, my thoughts are with, you know, the 12 people that were killed in Paris and all other shit, and oh yeah, solidarity with, you know, marching through the streets. Because I'll tell you what pisses me off, right? Okay, millions of people die a day. Millions of people die a day. You know, hundreds of thousands, millions die a day from AIDS, HIV, Ebola, disease, murder, rape, pillaging, all that other kind of stuff, worldwide. Mostly in Africa, lots of, you know, China, Thailand, all these other places that have horrendous human rights. South Korea, North Korea, America, even the UK. You know, we have killings, although not very often. It's just, you know, murder and all that kind of stuff, right? And mostly, actually, you know, we had 2,000 people were killed by Boko Haram, I think they're called, who are a bunch of Islamist twats. The fact that they're Islamic is relevant/irrelevant, but they're using Islam to go and kill loads of people, which is essentially what these other people were doing in Paris. And what really pissed me off was that everyone was going, oh, you know, how sad it is, 12 people died, and there's a big march about it, and all this other kind of stuff, and yada, 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 great. Now, what really pissed me off about that was there are 12 people that have died. Yes, it's very sad. Yes, it's awful that it's happened. It's happened in the West. Yes, it's awful. But where's everybody's uproar, and where's everybody's disgust when people are killed for their political beliefs in some African country? I don't want to be like a UKIP support, UKIP support and say bongo bongoland, but you know, places like Zimbabwe, for instance, places like Somalia, for instance, where people are killed day in, day out, en masse. You know, we're not talking like the odd killings here and there. We're talking thousands of people a day that are killed because they don't believe in Islam, for instance, or they don't believe in Christianity, or they believe in a certain political structure, or they believe that, you know, gays should be able to be married, or whatever it is. You know, their political beliefs, or their own personal beliefs, or their opinions get them killed every single day of the week, every day of every year, and like that for me really pisses me off. You know, that says to me that, you know, the people in France, the people in Paris, are more important than the people in Africa, or in Zimbabwe, or in Somalia, or in Iraq, or in Afghanistan, or wherever, you know, crimes and atrocities are taking place. And it really pisses me off that the news latches on to something like this, which is obviously it holds a lot within people's hearts and minds because it's in a first world country, what we deem as a first world country. It's in a country that is literally just a stone's throw away. You know, if you go to Dover, you can see France, or even if you go to the Land's End or the Lizard, you can see France from outside your doorstep. I mean, pretty much you can just sort of stand on the coast and you can see the other side of France. And it kind of really pisses me off that people that, you know, latched onto that and said, oh, you know, this is awful and barbaric, when this kind of stuff happens every day of the week. Like it's so commonplace that it's not even reported. That's how bad it is. Right, and that's what really pissed me off about that. Like, I just could not believe when people go, oh, my thoughts are with, like, just fuck that. Like, if your thoughts are with those people, then your thoughts should be with every single person that dies through freedom of speech, freedom of expression, every day of the year, because that's what happens. It's what happens all the time. In Korea, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Somalia, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa even, for instance, and that's what I would deem as a reasonably first world country, but it still goes on. You know, you get murderings, pillagings, rapings, all that other kind of stuff, disease, famine, all that other shit that happens, and all of a sudden, you know, there's 12 people are killed because of terrorism in France, and everybody loses their shit about it, even though terrorism happens all over the world. You know, terrorism is happening in Ukraine right now. Terrorism essentially is happening in Russia. You know, you can be killed for being gay or, you know, bisexual or transgender or whoever, or because you're black, because you're Jewish, because you're Christian, because you're Muslim, because of this, that and the other thing. You know, you're a Buddhist, you're a gypsy, you know, and we're not, you know, this is happening all the time. We live in 2015 now, right? 2015, this stuff is still going on. And people's outrage is only outrage because it was in France, or it was in London, or it was in Washington, D.C., or it was, I mean, nothing's really happened in Washington, D.C., but you kind of get my point. So I'm really kind of pissed off about that. I'm pissed off that people are latching on to things that really, like, in the big scheme of things, doesn't really matter. Like, yes, it's bad, but, you know, for me, I mean, I did a paste bin thing, which I'll put in the links in the description below, I think, about, you know, my disgust for all this other shit, and it's just like, fuck is wrong with you? Like, wake up and smell the fucking coffee, will you? Like, this stuff happens all the time, right? And your disgust and your hatred and your thoughts aren't with those people every day of the week. So why are they suddenly here now for something that happened in Paris? I just don't get it. I just do not get it at all. So yeah, and it kind of, like, you know, it pisses me off, it makes me angry and upset, and I just can't believe that, you know, we're in this day and age and we've got the internet, we've got all this stuff, and this stuff has been reported all the time anyway, you know, by some of the lesser known, even like the Independent and the Guardian reporting this stuff every day, but because it's not like front page news, because it happens all the time, we're used to that happening, we don't report it. And in the wake of all this, you know, everybody's going on about, still banging on about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and, you know, what happened there was exactly the same as what happens everywhere. Pissing with rain outside, it sounds horrendous. You know, and that kind of really does piss me off. You know, people bang on about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, but they're still not banging on about freedom of expression, freedom of speech in UK even. Like, we've got, you can't incite racial hatred, you can't say things that offend people, you can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other thing. Like, freedom of speech is free, like, freedom of speech is freedom of speech. Like, I don't think there should be any sticks and stones. Like, you know, freedom of speech should be freedom of speech no matter what it is. Doesn't matter if the UK government disagrees with what you say, even if it's inciting racial hatred, it doesn't matter. That's your freedom to say whatever the hell you want. That also gives you freedom to be criticised for your fucking stupid bloody opinions. Like those that are homophobic and those that are racist. Like, yeah, you can be racist because that's what it's like being in a free and open democratic society, but also you can be criticised for your stupid fucking beliefs. Like, you know, it's just, I just rage so hard when, you know, this shit sort of happens and people, like, bang on about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, like it's suddenly a big fight. Like, it's always been a big fight because the UK government's a bunch of cunts, the US government's a bunch of cunts, African countries a bunch of cunts, you know, and that's it, you know? I don't know. Right, now, anyway, in the wake of all that, you know, in the wake of Je suis Charlie, or whatever, Charlie, and all the other kind of stuff that came out of that, David Cameron, the cunt that he is, which certainly won't be voting for him in the next general election. I didn't want this to become political, but, like, this is becoming political because this is really something I hold strongly, and, you know, I've got really strong feelings about this, and not from, like, a keyboard warrior standpoint. This is something that I would quite happily march on the streets of London for. You know, I write to my MP all the time about shit. They rarely reply, and if they do, they rarely agree with what I've got to say because they're misinformed, which is usually what the case is. But anyway, David Cameron could block WhatsApp and Snapchat if he wins the next election as part of plans for new surveillance powers announced in the wake of the shootings in Paris. The Prime Minister said today that he would stop the use of methods of communication that cannot be read by security services, even if they have a warrant. But that could include popular chat and social apps that encrypt the data, such as WhatsApp. Now, this is an article by The Independent called WhatsApp and iMessage could be banned under new surveillance plans, and I'm going to link a load of other things down below about Snoopers Charter, and there's a really, really good Next Web article about this called Dave Cameron's plan to ban end-to-end encryption is catastrophic for internet freedom. And there's a really great open letter to David Cameron from a random blog I picked up from, like, basically like a hacksaw script kiddie guy. So let's assess this as a thing. This is going to be another rant. So David Cameron, the misinformed idiot that he is, equally so is Theresa May, wants to bring in this snoopers charter because he thinks that we have so much terrorism that we basically need to get rid of encryption so that security services can basically access any bit of data they want and that they wish. So David Cameron is obviously misinformed in this sort of area. So obviously WhatsApp, Snapchat exist, they're encrypted, and they're encrypted for good reason. It means that basically you and I can talk to each other encrypted. Criminals can't access what we're looking at. Also means the government can't look at what we're looking at or what we're doing either, which is really good for us because it means that we have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, a freedom from surveillance from the government, which is a human right. You know, we've got these human rights as part of the, I don't know what the convention is, but there's a convention of human rights as part of the something convention of so-and-so, I don't know what year it was. It's a European thing, and there's an international thing to do with the UN and a few other things. But anyway, and as part of those human rights, we do have the right not to be subject to excess surveillance, and we have the right to privacy. Which is quite a big human right, which I don't want to go on and bang on about human rights too much because most of it's a lot of bullshit. But equally, we have the right to a private life. Why the fuck would we want the state dictating to us what we can and cannot do? Well, obviously within reason. And why the hell would we want them snooping on our shit? Because it's private data. And it wouldn't be so bad if the government had a track record for, I don't know, privacy and things like that. But you look at some of the things they've done in terms of like HMRC and Department for Work and Pensions, who've lost data, who leave data on the train. Like, how can I trust the government not to use that data for nefarious means? It would be fine if that data was controlled all by computer and they only used it for criminal proceedings, but I know for a fact they won't, because humans are involved, and so therefore you're going to have idiots that are going to abuse the system. But that aside, David Cameron wants to either ban end-to-end encryption or kind of develop it so that there's backdoor access for things like MI5 GCHQ to snoop on shit. Now, what he fails to realise by doing that, it then opens the door for criminals to use those backdoors, to use, to use the lack of encryption on things, to snoop and to do the things that basically the government want to do. And he fails to realise that's going to be a massive, massive downside to the UK internet industry, UK IT industry, the industry as a whole internationally. And the second thing is that he forgets that terrorists don't actually generally use WhatsApp and Snapchat and things like that to actually send terrorist messages around. They'll use other third-party services, perhaps, that will be anonymous, or they'll use code names, or they'll use things that will bounce things around. And as they're criminals, they couldn't give a shit about if encryption's banned. They'll just set up their own encryption and set up their own servers and set up their own networks and stuff like that. Or they're just going to meet people in coffee shops, which is what the Americans failed to realise during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, which terrorists don't communicate via phone and email and text. They communicate face-to-face in caves in the middle of nowhere. So that, it's a little bit different in the UK because, domestic terrorism is probably less going to be like that. But that's what they do because they know that things like PRISM exist. They know things are monitored all the time. So why the fuck would they use those kinds of systems? The only thing it's going to affect is the law-abiding citizen. It means it's going to be easier for shit to be hacked. David Cameron's a fucking useless idiot anyway in terms of his political policies. I don't think he's going to get in the next general election. I don't know that Labour necessarily will either. Lib Dems certainly won't. There's a really great piece that that Nick Clegg did. Nick Clegg condemns calls for revival of Snoopers Charter over fears in wake of Paris attacks. Another independent article, and also there's a Nick Clegg Snoopers Charter would not plug intelligent gap by The Guardian. The other problem as well is who's going to fund this shit? Like, why would I as a taxpayer want to fund a mass surveillance program that isn't properly managed anyway? They've GCHQ, well, not GCHQ, but MI5 and MI6 at the moment are stretched beyond belief in terms of their manpower and the intelligence they've got with them. They've only got so many people on the ground to do the job. If you have more intelligence thrown at them, that means somebody else is then going to be employed, more people have got to be employed to look at the data that's there. Now, fair enough, if it's a case of basically, if you need a warrant and you need to be able to access something for a certain person, you can do that, through the legal courts and stuff, which is fine. But equally, it opens the floodgates for Theresa May to turn around and say, well, we're going to, capture everything through a PRISM-like system. Which I don't want to live in a society like that, I know it's very tin foil hat and all this other shit, but I don't want the government, because they're incompetent. That's all I care about. I don't give a shit, because obviously there's not going to be any new world order, because no one's got enough organisation to create something like that, and I'm not going to go down, the whole wearing a colander on your head business, But equally, I don't want the government having that data because A, they can use it against me, blackmail, because let's be honest, people are bastards. If there's somebody that doesn't like you, they could use that against you, and if they work for the government. Equally, if there was a criminal that somehow managed to get access to the data that some fucking idiot had left on a train, I don't want them using that as blackmail against me. So, I don't want that to happen. And people always go on about, well, if you've done nothing wrong, it doesn't matter. But that's not the point. It suggests that everybody is doing something wrong, and you therefore are guilty unless proven innocent, which is just bullshit. That's not how we should live our lives. We're living in a free, open, democratic society. I shouldn't expect the government to snoop on my shit. I know Google do snooping. Well, I suppose in a lesser sense, they have access to all my data, and if Google wanted to, they could do some real damage to my career, to my reputation, to this, that, and the other by, digging up all the shit that I Google. Not that I do Google anything dodgy, but, and it's similar for anybody, and politicians also forget encryption exists to protect people from credit card fraud, from stealing, nudes and private pictures and pictures of their family. Would David Cameron like it if his dick got out on the internet from some 1984 image that was kicking around on someone's phone? Of course not. I mean, it's unlikely that's going to happen. But, equally, a newer Prime Minister that's been using, Facebook, for instance, to send dick pics to some Russian bride that then somehow gets out because someone's hacked into it because basically there's no encryption on it. It's just, where would we draw the line? So he's a fucking idiot. He needs to leave office, and he's just not competent to stand as a Prime Minister. He's doing a reasonably good job with the economy at the moment, although we are looking like we might go into deflation, which is bad, but, that's more to do with oil and because that's why we rely too heavily on oil, which is annoying. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, so that's kind of my rant out of the way now. I think I'm calmed down enough. So what I want you to do is I want you to write to your MP. I want you to sign up to, I'll put some links in the description below to sign up to things and see where it's going. If you really care passionately about it, write to your MP. Make sure you use your vote this year actually in the 2015 general election. Make sure you do everything in your power as a democratic citizen to make sure things like this are blocked in Parliament if it ever goes through. And if it's rushed through, then let's hope, we continue to use encryption. And if it comes through, I'm going to use VPN, and I'm going to use VPN illegally. And if they want to go down that route, then I'll take it to the High Court and say it's, it's basically against human rights. Because it's not, terrorism isn't such a big thing. Because if it was, then they must be doing either they're doing a reasonably good job by stopping terrorism, or terrorism doesn't exist that much. So therefore, we don't have to worry about it. It happened in France once, and it happened but it happens all around the world all the time. I don't see why we should have to give up freedom for security. There's a famous, it's not quite, it's a simplified version of what Abraham Lincoln said, but it did say that those that give up freedom for security deserve neither, which is very interesting. And there's a simplified quote from Abraham Lincoln as well that says America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be destroyed because we destroyed ourselves, which is very true. But it's a longer quote. It's a lot longer than that. It's very simplified, but that's basically what he said. Although it wasn't quite in the same kind of way, and it wasn't quite in the same context. But equally, it's a good quote to shove at people because it's very true. I think we should sacrifice a little bit of freedom for security because I think that's interesting and it's good. That's why we have the police and this, that, and the other thing. But I don't want it to go to the extreme whereby basically the terrorists have won, which they have anyway, because we're being surveilled to the extent that everybody's scared to do this, that, and the other thing because the public are fickle and stupid and idiotic. But there you go. Anyway, rant over. Let's talk about some actual proper tech news for a change, and let's go back into some usual calmness whilst I'm drinking my stone cold tea because now it's gone cold because I've been kicking around for bloody ages. It's actually gone very cold. I'm going to have to leave that in there now. This was reported via Sina, which is kind of like a social media kind of app for China, and then reported by The Independent and Huffington Post and the IB Times and The Telegraph and blogs.ft, the Financial Times as well. I'm going to put multiple links to multiple articles discussing the same thing now from various sources so that you can kind of get a skew on things. I'm not going to link to things like the Daily Mail and the Mirror because they're a bunch of awful websites, and I'm probably not going to link to things like IGN unless it's a really, really good article because they're awful articles and awful companies. I like the Independent, I trust them, I trust the Guardian as well. I don't really trust the Huffington Post, but it's quite good for some things, so I'm linking it there. IB Times I trust very, very much, and also the Financial Times I trust implicitly, although a lot of the articles you do have to have membership for, although they're not their blog site. But anyway, 94 iPhones were taped to the body of a Hong Kong man, which is quite interesting. So they managed to detain a man who was walking like he shat himself, basically. Went through a metal detector, it went off, and they managed to find 94 iPhones that have been taped to his body, and you can kind of see the pictures that are scrolling through now about that. The cost for iPhones in China is horrendously large, and compared to like in the Western world, even though they're actually made in China, it's really difficult to get them in China because with Chinese law and the way they work their things, they don't want freedom of expression and freedom, and all that other kind of stuff because they are although they are kind of a democracy, they're not really. They're just basically a dictatorship and they can do whatever the hell they want. And that's why it's really difficult to get hold of. You have long waiting lists, you have really real shortage of phones. And so what a lot of people do is try and smuggle phones on the border via eBay and things like that to try and get the phones in, to sell them at a higher rate and to reduce the shortage. Because at the moment there's lots of shortages of iPhones in China. In China because they've only recently managed to be able to sell them in China, which is good, but it's kind of annoying because it means you have to wait and you have to spend an extortionate amount of money to actually pay for the phones. But no, it was quite interesting. That was doing the rounds on Twitter the other day. And there's a really interesting open letter that's been signed by the likes of Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk, and a lot of other really key researchers within the academic world, certainly within universities in the US and the UK. About making AI more capable, maximising its societal benefit, whilst also making it robust. And there's a few articles about it, which is really good by the Independent and the Guardian. And basically, it's calling for research into artificial intelligence being more robust, and to make sure they avoid dangers of artificial intelligence taking over the human race, doing things it's not supposed to be doing, and so we remain in control. Which is it's very science fiction, but it's an interesting point. Artificial intelligence is really good, and we need it. To advance human interaction and society as a whole, we need that artificial intelligence to automate some of the tasks that really we don't need to be worried about. The trouble is with artificial intelligence is when it starts writing its own code, and when it starts thinking like a human, it has things like rationality. Now, rationality is based on ones and zeros, and it's based on percentages and stuff like that. But obviously, percentages cannot tell you the difference between, one human dying, one human living, and passion and all the other kind of stuff. And that's what they're kind of worried about. They're making sure that AI is going to remain at the forefront of human ingenuity. It's going to be allowed to be controlled by humans, and it's going to remain robust and secure and not allowed to be used for nefarious purposes. And it's a really interesting open letter. It's only really, really short, and it's got long words in it. You can find simpler versions of basically on the Independent and the Guardian articles about it. But it's a really interesting, letter worth looking at as well. Now, I saw this on Slashdot the other day, so I'm going to mention this. The UK government department still runs VME operating system installed in 1974. So the Department for Work and Pensions is looking for a new CTO, and as part of that, it was actually reported in CIO.co.uk, which is like a CIO kind of website, like high-end management within IT kind of website. And they reported this, and then Slashdot took it upon it. Slashdot's kind of like a commenting site, kind of a little bit like Reddit, but not quite. It's a little bit more unique than Reddit, I guess, in the way it sort of reports the news. But no, the VME operating system was installed in 1974, and they're still maintaining it to this day for the Department for Work and Pension Systems. I'm looking for a new CTO even, so I assume Chief Technology Officer, I guess, to oversee the upgrade of that. It's quite interesting that the Department for Work and Pensions are still running that system, although it's quite good because it means it's probably off the grid, and it probably means it's not actually networked properly, and it probably means that it's kind of running well and it works, I guess. It probably also means that we're paying millions a year to support it, but hey ho, there you go. I'd much rather pay for something that works, that costs millions a year, than something that doesn't work that we pay less for, because that's what's going to happen. Something will be upgraded and it won't quite work, and because that's what always happens within government IT budgets. The only couple of, I wanted to end on a couple of things. Like, I've rattled through most of the news quite quickly. I didn't really want to mention CES because, like, this year at CES, it's not really been a year for anything specific. It's been like the year of everything. Because before we had, like, basically last year we had 3D printing and hacking stuff. So, Raspberry Pi, Internet of Everything things. The year before that we had more of the Internet of Everything, fridges that could tweet and all that shit. A couple of years ago, in 2011, maybe even 2010, we had tablets were doing a thing, smartphones, that kind of stuff. So this year, it's kind of been like a year of everything. There hasn't been anything that's been major. I suppose 4K TVs have advanced a little bit this year. I think I'm quite glad I didn't go in the end, because there wasn't that much stuff that I'd say, oh yeah, that's really cool, to sort of write home about. Like, there are some cool stuff, but most of it's in concept phase. Some of it will come out this year. And I just urge you to go out and have a look at the coverage for CES on multiple news sites, on Engadget, maybe, if you're that way inclined, the Register, Techzilla, maybe, don't know. A news site you trust, go out and look at the CES coverage, because there's no point in me recovering what they've covered, because there's just no point. I didn't go, and I'm gutted that I didn't go, because I could have probably afforded to go, but now I'm out of work. I'm kind of like, wanted to take a step back from that a little bit. In actual fact, even though I'm out of work, I seem to have less time for stuff like this than I did when I was in work. Because basically I get up, I apply for loads of jobs, I game on the games I've not actually gamed for in ages. Like, I've managed to complete Watch Dogs now, which is really great. Talking of Watch Dogs, I was going to do like a 2014 review, but then I thought, well, that's very unoriginal because everybody and their uncle's done that, and I've got nothing new to add to the table. The only thing I wanted to mention that I think the best AAA game of 2014, which is basically the only AAA game I think I've played all year, is Watch Dogs. I think Watch Dogs is probably the best game, or at least the best AAA game of 2014. I think it was fantastic. It's a great game. Like, ignore the fact that it's shit in terms of the way it's been ported to PC. Ignore the fact that there were so many problems when it first came out, and ignore the fact that it still crashes on my PC because it only has 8 gigs of RAM. It's a really good game. I urge you to go out and buy it. It's not that expensive, and the gameplay is great. The story is great. The campaign is great. The little side missions are great. It's kind of like GTA, but like a little bit worse. But it's really good. I've not played GTA 5, and it has been delayed on PC, much to the annoyance of everybody else. Like, I couldn't give a shit, really. I'm not going to get GTA until I have a decent PC to run it on, so there's no point for me too much worrying about it. I'm going to wait for it to come out, all the bugs to be fixed, and just kind of calm down. Like, I want a game to be released properly, and I want it to be released so that it's good. Like, that's why I like Battlefield Hardline being delayed. I like GTA 5 being delayed, because it means they've got shit to sort out, and I want them to sort that shit out before it comes to retail, because I don't want, like we've had in the past with SimCity, and with GTA 4, and with GTA, what else came out of shit? Well, Watch Dogs even, I don't want games to come out that are not finished. Like, finish the game, like Call of Duty, for instance. That's a fucking abysmal franchise. Finish the game first. Don't set release dates, or send like a preliminary release date, but don't say it's definitely going to be out now, because that means that you're going to fuck it up, because they always do. Like Unity, like not Battlefield Unity, Assassin's Creed Unity was shit, because they rushed it, and it's just crap. Don't do that to yourself. Like, do what World of Warcraft does. Do what Minecraft does. They release stuff when it's ready, not when they've got their deadlines. I mean, you do need deadlines to make people, work faster, but equally, just make sure your game is complete before you, submit it. The last thing to really end on, I suppose, in terms of news at least, is a new gadget can turn any HDTV into desktop computer. Now, this was really cool and interesting, and I suppose not necessarily new, because we've had this for a while, but basically, Intel have kind of brought out this thing, I think, with somebody else. So it's got a quad-core Atom CPU, 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of internal storage, which basically plugs into your TV, kind of like a Chromecast. So it plugs in via HDMI, and it's powered by USB, I think, and it's also got, I think it might have USB inputs as well. And it's a full desktop PC, so you can turn any TV into a desktop PC. It's not that cheap, though. I think it's like over 100 quid. And for over 100 quid, you can get a lot of systems that are basically a desktop PC that's a lot higher spec than that for a lot less money. So, like, it's cool, but it's not that cool. I think I saw it on Twitter, and I thought it was worth a mention, because it was kind of quite an interesting thing. I think there's lots to be said about devices that can be just plugged into the side of the TV to stream shit and do whatever, because it allows your TV to be better. the thing that pisses me off now with streaming stuff is that everybody is selling streaming shit. Like, when I buy a TV, all I want is a TV. I don't want anything. I don't want a smart TV because it's shit. It generally breaks. The phone will be out of date and it'll take ages to start. All I want is a TV to work. And I will plug my own shit into it. By the time I have an Xbox, which is an Xbox 360, which can do media, I have a Raspberry Pi that can do media. I have about 3 desktops that can do media. If I bought a Chromecast, I could stream from my phone, my tablet, my anything. I've even got 3 tablets that can stream to a TV. I've got a Skybox that can stream shit. I've got a Now TV box that can stream shit. I think I've got a Blu-ray player and a DVD player that can stream shit. I've got a desktop PC that can stream shit. I've got laptops. I've got all this stuff that I can consume media through. I don't need another fucking thing to plug into the side of my TV. Like, it's fine if you're stuck in a certain... Like, if I was starting from scratch and I wanted something specific, then fine. Like, create something, Amazon can create their Fire TV, which is another pointless thing, and I'll put all my money into Amazon services and Amazon stuff, which is a stupid idea because I don't particularly like Amazon as a company like that, really. I don't like the way they treat the staff, and I don't really like the way they do business, but you've got to hand it to them. They've got a really fantastic set of products. Chrome's fantastic, Amazon Instant Video is fantastic. But, unless I'm going to push my content through a specific platform, like I'm only going to pay for Netflix, I'm only going to pay for, well, not Love Film because that's now dead, that's now Amazon Instant Video, but, if I'm only going to have one system, iTunes, for instance, via Apple TV, which basically pretty much was the first real streaming service, I suppose, sort of after XBMC, I guess, and other Media Center versions. I actually like, Windows Media Center, I think it was called, can't remember now. Things like that came first, but I don't see the point of creating another streaming stick. Like, you could pick up Chromecast copies on from China for £10, and you can even get Chromecast, including a series, for 20 quid on Wazoo or whatever the hell it's called. So I don't think it needs another thing. It sort of seems a little bit pointless. I don't know why you need another thing, but it was cool. It was good that it's in a little package and it's kind of cute and sweet and yeah, cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's another fucking thing to plug into your TV when you're running out of HDMI ports. I suppose it would be really handy in a corporate environment where you could push out things like PowerPoints, maybe, if you wanted to do that, or if you, well, actually, to be fair, that'd be really handy for doing PowerPoint stuff, with just having a desk and a keyboard and a mouse, or even just a remote, and you can just flick through PowerPoint stuff. That'd be cool. Or if you wanted to stream photos and stuff, although you could do similar stuff with an open source version of, there's a few actually that do display stuff with Raspberry Pis, which is really cool. And I'm pretty sure you can hack Chromecast to do similar sorts of things as well, to stream photos and videos and all other kind of crap. So there's lots of solutions there. Even Apple TV can do a weird proprietary kind of connection with Apple devices and stuff, and projectors and stuff like that. So it's quite an interesting space, but it's like everything is now connected to streaming services. Your TV is, your PlayStation is, your Xbox is, your Wii is, your PC, your radio, everything is connected to streaming services now, even your phone. Do we need more? Probably not, but hey, there we go. I think that's all the news to go through now. Personal shit. So I'm currently still unemployed as of today, which is the Wednesday. Friday I've got an interview, and I've also got possibly a few interviews next week, depends. I might have one in London, although I think I'm going to turn that down because it's in Chessington. You can make up your mind as to which company that's for. But it's not actually quite for Chessington World of Adventures. It's kind of for the company that owns it, but I think I'm going to turn that down because it's not very much money. It's too close to London for all the money that it is, and it's going to be a pain in the ass for me to get there, even for an interview, let alone moving up there. So I think I'm probably going to pass on that. There's a few jobs coming up in Bristol as well, which is quite cool. There is loads of work around. It's just trying to find work. Oh yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention, I did that rant about Beer Time rant about the 2 companies I went for. So the company that I went for an interview for that said I would be too bored in Bristol has re-advertised the post at a higher grade, so a higher level in terms of its wages. I think they bumped it up by £2,000 to 20. I might even be as much as 25k here now. And so they're still advertising for that post, and they're also still advertising for the post that I went for up in London, at a higher grade. Actually, the grade that I wanted when I first went up there. It was 32,000 now. Actually, no, it starts at 30,000, goes up to 36. And I told them I wanted nothing more, or nothing less than 28, and they couldn't do that for me. So, yeah, that kind of pisses me off, because it's just like, why didn't you just bloody do that in the first place? I suppose it's because it's the new year, and they've got new budgets, I suppose, but the new financial year doesn't start until April. So, unless they've got money to burn, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The plan for like my time off, and because I'm jobless now, my plan was to create more content and to maybe do some streaming things and stuff like that. The trouble is, internet connection shit, so I can't really upload that much, and I haven't actually had time to do anything. I've been just basically gaming, catching up on the games I've not been able to play for the past year, and also been applying for jobs. So I haven't actually had that much time to do very much at all, especially with Christmas and New Year. That was quite a busy time, and I've got loads of shit to sort out. As you probably see around me, I'm just got surrounded by shit, and I need to have a big sort out of stuff. I need to go into storage and sort that shit out. So there's loads of stuff I've got to do. You know, I've not got that much time, and I think the thing is, like, they reckon you should ask a busy person to do shit because they fit things in. Like when I was working, I had specific scheduled times to do shit, and my time was precious, and so I schedule things in. Whereas now, because I've got unlimited time, pretty much, I don't get things done. Because I'm less inclined to, because I think, well, I can do that tomorrow, I can do that next day, I can do that next day. Whereas when you're working, you can like do it just now. Like, this is the time I have to do it, and I have to do it now, and so you get it done. But yes, I think that's pretty much it. I do want to do a stream at some point, probably not now. Well, certainly not when I'm living here. Maybe in a couple of months' time, when I hit 2,000 subscribers. I'm currently at 1,500, 1,600, which is good. Still not where I want to be. I want to kind of be at 10,000, because that would be nice. That would be, like, if at the end of the year I can get to 10k, that would be really good. Like, it's not about that. It's not about that, but it kind of is about that. The reason it's not about it is because I don't want, like, to inflate my ego, and I don't want to be a dick. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that when I get to that point, I'm going to start being an arrogant arsehole. But equally, I kind of want to be an arrogant arsehole to press people, because once you start getting to that level, you can kind of start asking for things. You know, I've managed to luckily get a few things from companies. You know, like Razer managed to send me some stuff, although they still haven't actually asked for it back. Well, they've asked for it back once. I emailed them, I've been ignored, so I still currently have some Razer stuff with me. You know, there's a few other bits and pieces that I've got for free, but they've not really, like, the video content actually had done that much. Like, it's not gone where I want it to be. So I'm hoping this year I'll go to EGX in March, assuming I have a job. If I have a job, then definitely will be going in March for EGX Rezzed, which will be really interesting and really great. Hopefully we can capture some great content again. I'm hoping that I'll be able to... I might just save up and just go all out on a decent camera, because at the moment, I don't think this is really ideal for that. I need a camera that I can basically put the whole thing onto have like an all-in-one rig that I can put onto a tripod, and it's going to work really well, and it's going to have great battery life, and it's going to be continual recording at 1080p, 60 frames a second if I can, and even 4K if I can as well. So I might look at maybe saving up for that. I've got a bit of money kicking around in terms of AdSense. I think it's currently at £300, so I need to try and figure out a way of getting you to vote for what I need to spend my money on. And kind of go from there. I suppose it might be a return of investment. I might look at maybe getting a better camera, because it means that I can go to more events and I can go around and about the country. There's two options for me at the moment. I'm toying with the idea of either saving up loads of money, going to New Zealand and spending 2-3 weeks over there, or saving up loads of money to go to New York, Chicago, maybe America, or just use my money and go somewhere in the UK and spend some time with some cool people, because there's some great people around the country, and we can have a chat in a pub or whatever. Somewhere we can sit down and film it, and that'd be really great. So if I can do that, that'd be fantastic. And if I can get some equipment together, that'd be good. So I could do with getting a Peli case that can fit all the shit in it, and like a camera that's going to last for ages, and that I can use to stream shit and all sorts of funky stuff like that. So that's the kind of plan over the course of the year. I've not really got anything else planned for a minute. I'm concentrating on getting a job, so this might be the last Brew Time for like a month, maybe, but I'm not too sure. I'm still scouting. I'm still doing all the usual stuff as well. I'm still looking for work, still gaming, yada, yada, yada. Still living with my parents, still hating it, still wanting my own place, still looking for work. So that's kind of my life. I do need to do... There's a few things I need to do. So a kind of like a coming to terms with sexuality thing I need to do. Because because it's important. I think that's something I need to do. There's it's just like there's a few other bits and pieces that are personal to me that I want to do that are less tech related. I really wanted to do like a local kind of like a bit of a montagey thing for my local area to give you guys an idea of where I live and things like that, because it's, you know, quite interesting, because it was kind of an artsy fartsy cinematography kind of thing, which would be nice. But considering it's now pissing with rain and it's like 5 degrees outside and windy, I think I'm going to pass for a minute and I might wait for the summer maybe and do something. But yes, I think really the only thing I need to ask you to do, which you're probably not going to do, is email me, aaron@azzytour.com, and let me know where I should go in the country or abroad or wherever, what I should be doing, whether or not I should be talking to somebody, whether or not I should be doing like a sit-down chat with somebody in the industry, or just with a random person like you at home or in a pub or something. Maybe you're 18, 19 or 30 or whatever, and you work somewhere and you're reasonably confident and you want to talk to me on camera about something or whatever, you want to stream something with me, great. It'll have to be physically, because I think realistically I can't really stream proper things from here because it's too small, it's too cramped, the internet speed's not high enough, and that's kind of it. I really did want to do a podcast kind of thing that was kind of like an extension of this, because I know a lot of people don't actually sit down and watch this. They kind of like have it in the background so that they can listen to my dulcet tones. And I did think about doing like a podcast that lasts 2 hours, maybe, that was an extension to Brew Time, and kind of like have a Brew Time podcast that goes on for ages and is literally just radio, and maybe like a YouTube thing that has rolling clips that go with it, perhaps. But I don't know, because that means, that's extra effort on my part. It means I'm going to have to get a decent mic, like a radio mic, like a Electro Voice RE20, or some broadcast quality mic, maybe a Procaster, Podcaster, something like that. And yeah, it's just extra work and extra hassle. Like, when I get my own place and I get my own studio, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a 2-bedroom house or 2-bedroom flat and have a dedicated office/studio space that's going to be set up permanently all the time. It's going to have decent lighting, decent sound, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. And it's going to have all the stuff that I need in there for making YouTube shit. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So yes, hit me up on Twitter at AzzyChill, send me an email, aaron@azzychill.com, with thoughts, suggestions, whatever for the new year. I don't do New Year's resolutions because it's a pointless waste of time, and I certainly don't really do very much in the way of general resolutions anyway, in terms of how I change my life, because people don't change, circumstances change, and that's a very boring way of looking on life, but that's basically what happens. There's no point me planning for anything for a minute, because I haven't got a job, and I need a job, I need money to come in, because this is not my primary income. If it was, great, that'd be fantastic. If it was, then I'd be going anywhere in the world, and I'd be meeting you guys, and you'd be telling me what you wanted to do, because it's your money, essentially, because you're clicking on AdSense and all that other kind of stuff. Yes, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, donate, please donate. PayPal@azzychill.com if you want to. Patreon as well. I know lots of you haven't got the money to do so. I'm not looking for thousands of pounds. I'm looking for 10p, pound, 20p, whatever you want to donate, for equipment, for things like EGX, for other things, other bits and pieces. I think AdSense has taken a big nosedive over the past month or so. I don't know why that is. Considering Christmas has happened, I usually expect it to double. It's not about AdSense, it's not about the money either. But for me, especially now I'm jobless, although when I have a job again, I want to be able to create great content for you. I want to be able to increase my equipment stance, more for convenience for me, I think, so that I can create content quicker, better, stronger. Because at the moment I've currently literally got, like, everything's kind of separate. Like, my camera is one thing, my audio recorder is another thing, my mic in my room is another thing, my PC is another thing. It's kind of like the workflow is messy, it's slow, it's clunky, and it fails after time. And yes, so I want to get to broadcast level quality so that I can rattle things out a lot quicker, especially if I'm on the road. Like EGX Res, I'm going to have to wait until I come home, I'm going to edit, I'm going to have to then render, and then going to have to upload, as opposed to doing it on the go, which is really what I could do with doing, and doing it there and then. Realistically, I need a production team, I need a cameraman, I need a sound guy, I need a video editor, but the chances of that happening is going to be very slim. I mean, I suppose I could maybe look at getting a video editor and paying them some money, maybe. Either pay them in tea or booze or food, which is usually what I do. Booze or food is usually how I pay people. At least that's what I did for my cameraman at EGX, and he was great. And he's going to probably follow me around. Well, no, he's going to follow me around at EGX Resd, and we're going to take some great footage, and we're going to actually do the job properly this time, and not just kind of wing it. I think the next time I'm going to go in with facts and a crib sheet of shit that I want to say, because the EGX was fantastic. I'm going to finish this in a minute. I honestly promise you I will do. EGX was great. The only downside was that the content we created was, I think the content we got was fantastic, but not very many people ended up watching it, which is annoying. Basically, the only people the people that subscribed to me watched it, which is good. But other people didn't, and so they didn't discover me, and so my subscriber count didn't go up. Which I know, again, it's not about that. But you know, if I'm going to go to things like CES and EGX and even IFB or IFA or whatever it is in Berlin, which I plan on doing this year as well. Actually, I do plan on going to the one in Berlin, especially if I don't go to CES, because I think that's actually probably a better event. I might look at going to Gamescom. I might. I didn't go into Insomnia because I didn't see the point. Let me know what you think about events like that. Do you want to go? I mean, this is your thing. Like, I am the host. But this is you're the subscribers. You're the people that are going to be watching the shit. Let me know what you want. If you want me to traverse the country, you go to London, go to Birmingham, Bristol, talk to people, talk to you guys, interview some people, great. If you want to see me to go to EGX kind of events or wherever, great, fantastic. If you couldn't give a shit, then don't worry about it. But yes, I think that's pretty much it. So apart from that, I shall catch you in a later video.